Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Ahmad and today me and my group will be presenting to you about inflection. So the first question is, what is inflection? Though I'm sure that all of you are already aware of the meaning of the word inflection in morphological terms. I'm gonna explain it anyway, so bear with me, okay? So, inflection, what is it? Inflection is word formation that does not change category and does not create new lexeme, but it changes the form of lexeme so that they fit into different grammatical contexts. So we have types of inflection. Okay, so the first type would be person. So an inflection on the person type would be on how we change verb and nouns based on the subject of the sentence, which is the speaker, the hearer, or someone else entirely, and whether the subject is singular or plural. The simplest example, that the closest that we have would be the ones in English, which is down there, which is, as you can see, the girl over there is pointing towards the guy, and she is saying he is. So we have is over there and he, and then and then the guy say I am. See the word am there over there, and then we are. Okay, for plural. For verb, we have Germans that they have several words for sagen, which the meaning to that is to say. Okay, we have the singular version is the first person, which is I don't really know how to pronounce that. Then we have the plural version of that, which en, the singular plus just one e. And then we have the second person, which is plus st. Then we have the plural for second person perspective, which is plus a t, and then so on to the third person. So although that not all language have this kind of person type inflection, but most language have it. Okay, and we have noun, which is on how the Mohawk have separate possessive nouns, which is for, we have the singular, the first person singular, second person singular, and third person singular, which is the person is divided by gender, her or his. And then we have the plural one. Okay, we have the first person plural, second person plural, and third person plural, which is the same as singular version, which they are divided by genders. And that's it for me. The next one will be presented by my teammate FATIHAH. So thank you, have a good day.
Next, I'll be talking about the countable noun. Under this topic, lexeme has only two grammatical forms, which is singular and plural. So we are going to take the word cat, C-A-T, as an example. For instance, when the word cat is under its singular form, it can contain only the morpheme cat, C-A-T. But then, if we are going to change its form from singular to plural, we need to add the suffix s to the root words, C-A-T, s, cats, and then we have changed the form. So one thing about the suffix, the suffix s is a regular suffix. But then we also have the irregular suffix. For instance, the suffix I, AE, and A, which have been borrowed from other languages such as Greek and Latin. Other than that, there are also words that don't add but then there are also words that we don't need to add any suffix to the root word if we need to change its form. For instance, the word sheep, deer, and fish. But then the question is how we are going to differentiate either the word is under singular or its plural form. We need to look at its syntactic context. For instance, I'll be giving two sentences. The first sentence is, a fish has been found in my house. And the second sentence is, two fish have been found in my house. For the first word, we are using a fish, and for the first sentence, we are using a fish, but then for the second sentence, we are using two fish. Then we can differentiate either the word is under its either the word is under its singular or plural form. Next, we are going to take a look into the topic gender or grammatical gender. But then I would like to ask, who has been studying other languages such as French or German or Russian or any other Indo-European language? Then if you have studied those languages that I've mentioned, you guys probably already familiar with this type of gender that I've mentioned. But then first I would like to explain a little bit about the gender. It is a noun class system which has two or three classes, which is feminine, masculine, and neuter. But then some of the nouns that classify under the grammatical gender may not be classed by their natural sex distinction. I mean, if we are going to classify the word death and chair, we cannot take a look onto their natural sex distinction, right? Because they doesn't have any literal gender characteristic like human and animal. Right, you got me. Okay. So, based on all those examples from both languages, either the French language or the German language, I hope that all of us can see that how the words, that how some of the words are being categorized into their grammatical gender doesn't have any correlation with their natural sex distinction. I think that's all for me. Thank you. I'll pass the next slide to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum. Now, I will be presenting about the next inflectional categories, which are tense and aspect. Tense and aspect are inflectional categories that usually pertains to verb and have to do with time. So, let's start with inflectional category tense. Tense refers to a point of time of an event in relation to another point, generally the point at which the speaker is speaking. The tense are further divided into three parts, which are present tense, past tense, and future tense. For present tense, the event that are spoken about occurs in the same time at the point of speaking. Next, for past tense, the time of event is before the time of speaking. Lastly, for future tense, the time of event is after the time of speaking. In the English language, the past tense are inflectionally marked by the suffix "ed" on verbs. Meanwhile, for future tense, English language uses separate auxiliary verb like will walk. This act of using a separate word to form a tense is called periphrastic marking, but this strictly pertains to syntax, not morphology. In Latin language, the past tense and future tense are marked inflectionally on the verb. Here are some examples of inflectional marking on past tense and future tense in Latin language. Amo for present tense, which means I love. Amavi for past tense, which means I love. Amabo for future tense, which means I will love. Meanwhile, some language distinguish several kinds of past tense and future tense based on how close or distant the event spoken about is from the time of speaking. This can be seen in Washoe language, which is a near-extinct Native American language spoken by the Washoe on the California-Nevada border. The Washoe language have 4 past tenses and 3 future tenses. They use the suffix lul to indicate distant past before speaker's lifetime, the suffix girl for distant past within speaker's lifetime, the suffix a for intermediate past earlier than the same day but not extremely distant, the suffix late for recent past earlier on the same day or previous night, the suffix aba for near future from the point of speaking until about an hour from that point, the suffix t for intermediate future after a short lapse of time, and lastly, the suffix gap for distant future following day or later. Moving on is the inflectional category aspect. Aspect convey information about the way in which the event occurs in time. One of the most frequently expressed distinction in aspectual throughout the world language is the distinction between perfective and imperfective aspect. In perfective aspect, an event is viewed as complete and is viewed from outside. Its internal structure is also not relevant. Meanwhile, for imperfective aspect, the event is ongoing and is viewed from the inside. For example, in English, when we say I ate the apple, the event is viewed as complete. But if we say I was eating the apple, though the event is in the past, we are still focusing on the event as it is progressing. Moving on, other forms of aspect focus on particular points in an event. Inceptive aspect focuses on beginning of an event, continuative aspect focuses on middle of event as it progresses, and completive focuses on the end. These aspects can be illustrated through the following sentences from the Tibeto-Burman language Manipuri. For inceptive, there is Mehat ne forgetly, which means he began to beat it and will continue to do so, denoting that the event is only beginning. Meanwhile, for continuative, there is Tombe Levik Pari, which means Tomba is reading the book, denoting that the event is still progressing. And lastly, for completive, there is Yumte Edu Yuremi, which means that books have been leaking but not anymore, denoting that the event is already at the ending. Another aspectual distinction are quantificational. Quantificational aspectual distinction focuses on the number of time an action is done or an event happens once or repeatedly. There are 3 quantificational aspects that we will focus on, which are simulfactive, iterative, and habitual. Simulfactive is for an action that are done just once, iterative is for action that are done repeatedly, and habitual is for action that is usually or characteristically done. For simulfactive aspect, we will be looking at the Koyukon language, which is used by the Athabaskan in Alaska. Meanwhile, for iterative and habitual, we will be looking at the West Greenlandic language. In Koyukon simulfactive, there is Yiltled, which means she chopped it once or gave it a chop. Next, for West Greenlandic iterative, there is Kueso Tapuk, which means he coughed repeatedly. And lastly, in West Greenlandic habitual, there is Kimit Kilut Taput, which means dogs bark. In English, we can make some of the aspectual distinction, but we do it through periphrastic marking. For example, in inceptive, we say she began to walk. For habitual, we use she always or she usually walks. For continuative, we use she keeps on walking. And lastly, for iterative, we use she reads over and over. And tense and aspect can be and are frequently combined in language. So, it is possible for us to speak of an event that is ongoing in the past or in the future. For example, tense and aspect are often combined in English. The past tense in English is also typically perfective. When we say she walked, we generally speak of an event that is conceived of as completed. But when we use the past progressive, as in she was walking, we are talking about something that happened in the past, but which we are thinking of as ongoing. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad SHAHRIZAL bin AIDIN, and today I would like to continue with the presentation of inflectional categories on majority of languages. First of all, voice. What is voice, you may ask? Voice is a category of inflection that allows different noun phrases to be focused in a sentence. In English, we have two types of voice, active voice and passive voice. Let's take cat and mouse example. In active voice, the sentence would be the cat chased the mouse. It was subject plus verb phrase plus object. But in passive voice, the subject becomes the agent while the object becomes the subject. For example, the mouse was chased by the cat. Subject plus verb phrase plus agent. Next, let's take a look on mood. Mood is a syntactic concept referring to the way in which verb express attitude of the addresser towards the factual content of what is being communicated. There are three types of mood in English, which are indicative, imperative, and subjunctive. The first one is indicative. Indicative is used in sentence or clauses to make a factual statement. Second is imperative. Imperative is described as the form of a verb that is normally used in directing or commanding people to do something. Last but not least is subjunctive. Subjunctive traditionally seen as the form of a verb that is used to speak about hypothetical, desirable, or necessary situations. For example, the sentence, "The sun rises at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning." It suggests a factual statement about the sun. On the imperative side, the examples of the sentence is, "Leave your shoes outside, please." The word please indicated of directing or commanding people to do something. In this case, it's about shoes. So last but not least, subjunctive. The example is, "I suggest that you should learn morphology." The word suggest indicated about hypothetical or desirable situation. Now, let's jump on modality. Modality is the expression of possibility, necessity, and contingency. We can see the examples of modality which are can, may, could, will, might, should, would, and must. There are two types of modality which are deontic and epistemic. Deontic is when a modal verb is used to affect a situation by giving a permission. For example, "You can go when you have finished." The word can indicated of the permission that have been given if the person finish his or her work. And second one is epistemic. Epistemic, on the other hand, is when a modal verb is used to express the speaker's opinion about a statement. For example, "It might be true." It might be true indicating the word might expressing the opinion of the speaker. Let's recap. From the first presenter, Daniel, we knew that person is regarding how verbs and noun change based on the subject and the number of the subject. Second presenter, FATIHAH, regarding noun, we have uncountable nouns. It do have two forms, singular and plural, and various of suffix used to change a word from a singular form to a plural form. While grammatical gender, from the presentation, we knew that there are languages with 2 grammatical gender and there are languages with 3 grammatical gender. And some words are being categorized into their grammatical gender without any correlation to their natural sex distinction or arbitrary. From NOOR Ariff, the third presenter, tense and aspect are inflectional categories that are marked on verbs and pertaining to time. Tense refers to a point of time of an event in relation to another point, generally the point at which the speaker is speaking. An aspect convey information about the way in which the event occurs in time. Last but not least, presented by me, voice is about allowing different noun phrases to be focused in a sentence. Meanwhile, mood is about verbs that express the addressor, while modality is the expression of possibility in the sentence. With that, thank you for lending us your ears for our presentation. Stay safe, stay positive. Thank you, and Assalamualaikum. Peace.